Okay, I apologize for the crappy camera, but cameras needed to be charged. My phone is dead, so that was one, in my opinion, the best camera. But I'll give you in my opinion, everything in this video as a disclaimer is in my opinion and in my experience. Um, so it's no one way to do things, but I'll try to teach you the easiest way, because in my opinion, that's the best way to really enjoy a fish tank. You actually can sit and look at it, as opposed to, you know, doing maintenance on the filter this day, doing maintenance on this day, putting in new plants this day. When you could just do it easily and just sit back and enjoy the tank for the most part. I'll start off by saying the temperature. The higher you have that temperature, say 82, 80 degrees, it shortens the lifespan. It does speed up the metabolism, and they grow faster, and they produce fry faster, yeah. But it shortens their lifespan as well. Um, and vice versa, the lower you keep it, their lifespan will be extended, not by like 7 years, no, but it'll be extended a decent amount. Usually they range about 2 years in lifespan, but keep them a little cooler. I've had some for about 3 years, a little bit over 3 years. I've known some people that said they've kept them for 4 years before they died, but temperature does play into it. If you want fry fast and a lot of guppies, and keep them a little hotter. If you don't mind about waiting and watch them grow, and dealing with not having fry as fast as you would like, then you can keep them a little cooler. In my opinion, at about 78 to 81 degrees, they have babies anywhere in between 22 days to 30 days. And depending on what you feed them, which I'll get to, in my opinion, it plays into about how many babies you'll have. But just keep that temperature in mind. Far as food, I noticed far as food, guppies will accept almost anything. Like anything you toss in there. Toss a breakfast sausage in there, and they'll just, well, don't do that. But you get the point. They'll eat almost anything. I used to feed them Tetra Tropical Crisp, and they used to eat that pretty much, and they would breed off of that. But I noticed I had much more success with the Marine Land Color Enhancing Tropical Flakes. No, it has a few good ingredients in there, and I'll feed them here and there. The Omega-1 Super Color Flakes. It's all about the quality of the food, the variety of the food. You know, here and there. If you have the extra money to do so, like, don't get me wrong, they'll still breed and they'll still accept whatever flake food you have. You can buy the crappiest flake food that literally only has one ingredient, fish meal, and they will just devour it. But varying their diet and varying what you give them, it tends to play into how often they breed, or how successful that batch is. Feeding them stuff like freeze-dried bloodworms. It doesn't have to be any of these brands. Like, you can get a regular flake food from another brand, or freeze-dried brine shrimp or bloodworms from another brand. I'm just showing you the brands I use. Or you can, like I said just previously, feed them the freeze-dried brine shrimp, or you can feed them the frozen bloodworms or the frozen brine shrimp. I notice giving them a variety of foods helps get bigger batches, in my opinion. Usually they have about 10 to 30 for me, but once I started really cranking up the food and the heat and everything, I've had a few females that had close to about 50 fry, and it was just unbelievable. But getting back, that's why you will want floating plants and things of that nature, because if you didn't, more than likely the moms and the dads in whatever fish you have, if you have them in a community tank, will devour those babies because they are scrumptiddlyumptious. I remember one time I woke up, not trying to get too much off topic, heading out to work, looked at the big 50-gallon I used to have guppies in, and it was just an unbelievable amount of guppies up top, and I had some swordtails and some mollies in there. And when I came back from work, you can already know what I'm about to say. They were demolished. There was probably like about 6 to 7 fry I can count out, opposed to like at least 100. It was a bajillion amount of fry at the top. But I had plants, like I said before, that would be needed to be planted in a substrate or hooked on a wood or rock or a decoration, and it just wasn't good enough to save them. Because in my opinion, I noticed when fry are first born, guppies at least, they pop to the top and they stay up top, at least for a little bit, and then they move around. But if you have cover up there, they'll just stay up top, so you can see them when you feed. To feed the fry with your flake foods, I just crush it up real good and toss it in there. So I would keep track of that already. That's another thing I want to talk to you about. Oh yeah, moam. I know a lot of people don't like moams in the tank. I get it. Everybody likes the pristine tanks. In a few of my tanks, I like it pristine and just absolutely marvelous. But from my experiences of breeding certain guppies, and when I used to line breed, I noticed in the tanks that I did leave a little bit of moam in when I was experimenting. It did a fair amount better than the ones I kept pristine at. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but trust me, like, I would have about 20, maybe 30 fry in the pristine ones, and I would have oh my god, an unbelievably unholy amount of fry in the ones that I kept a little bit of moam in. Just as a footnote, moam is pretty good. Snails is another thing I would recommend for a guppy tank, because not only they're recommended for any tank, in my opinion. I would put them in any tank, but what I really think they benefit in a guppy tank is they get into the nooks and crannies just like with any tank, and get those hard to reach places that decaying food is at, or dead fish wandered off to and got blue to, and they'll decompose that and break that down to a lesser waste, if that makes any sense to you. But I also like them for guppies. Like I said before, guppies like hard water, and I think I got onto that hard water topic. If not, I'll just do a recap at the end of the video, just in case I didn't. Guppies really like hard water, high pH, a lot of minerals in the water, and I kind of look at the shells and see if I'm getting white shells, or shells of the newborns are starting to whiten. And that lets me know I don't have enough minerals in the water. And that's kind of like my stopwatch of, hey, you better get to it. And that'll let me know I need to put more crushed coral, or the rocks that aren't inert rocks that will leach minerals into the water. It lets me know I need to put those in there. So I kind of like it. It's like a win-win putting snails in a guppy tank. They also break down and eat decomposing plants, as you see. The front light, that's why I have it double lighted. It's a really, really weak and trash light, so I had to double light it, but it still doesn't put out as much light as I would like. So some plants die a little bit if they don't have like a direct beam on them. Oh man, I just seen like 4 fry, but I couldn't catch them. What else? All right, floating plants would be best. Sponge filter over all other filters, because I've ran into a few nightmares using those hanging in the back of some canisters. If you're just having a kid's tank, I would say they would have more fun with just random guppies, like not line breeding, not the fancy types. Yeah, they look prettier, but to me, in my opinion, it's more fun for the kids and for adults, really. Just to have the random guppies. Like, don't get me wrong, it's good to have that one tank of that real nice line of guppies that you always did like. Beta just chowing down. But I like how Beta spit food out and then look at you for more. It's really fun for kids to guess what colors are coming out, and it's fun for adults too. You never really know who the parents are unless you notice one is really smaller than they were maybe 4 days before. But it's like a guessing game, and it keeps kids interested in the hobby, and that's what we really need to do, get people more interested in this hobby, because it's a dying hobby, believe it or not. And I've noticed that keeps kids in there. Besides that, guppies are just a unbelievable, I love it for a community tank. I've only had 2 smaller fish of their of their size that I had some problems with. But as a rule of thumb, obviously, if a fish can fit another fish mouth, it eventually will be dipped in hot sauce and ate like a shrimp. Um, but even the fish of their size, I've noticed, like with swordtails, are the worst for me. They will just hunt down guppy fry in the community tank. Like even with floating plants on the substrate, like they will hunt these things down, and you'll have so little left. Uh, they'll still breed and they'll still produce some, but out of that 30, maybe 9 survives from the swordtails hunting them down. Mollies were kind of bad, but not as bad as swordtails. Swordtails were just like, oh. But for the most part, with any community fish that's peaceful, guppies will go right along with them as long as they can't fit in that other fish's mouth. You see, I have them in here with betas. One thing I did want to point out, it's very rare, but I have seen it with my own eyes. Guppies do get a little nippy. It's very rare, like I said before, but they will get nippy with long fin fish. I've seen it with some long fin beta I had. It was a big flowing, just epic beta, and I caught it with my own eyes. They were just nipping at this guy, and at that time I was really just getting into the hobby, and I didn't have a extra tank that was empty for him. I had other tanks, but ones that were kind of on the big fish range, and while I tossed that beta in there, he would become a snack. So his fins were just demolished by him about time I got a 5-gallon for him. So just keep that in mind, even though it was only one situation. But I have heard from other fish keepers that these fish can get nippy at rare occasions, like rare occasions. I haven't seen it with these 3 female betas I've had in this tank, but I have seen it with betas before, so I just try to keep an eye out for that. Tank size, I've seen people breed them in a 5-gallon. I've kept them in the 5-gallon, only males, but I've seen friends that just had a crap ton of fry in a 5-gallon. But I would start at a 10-gallon and up. I would prefer you to have them in a 20-gallon long or a 20-gallon high. I like 20-gallon highs over the long because you can line them up beside each other and they won't take up that much space as far as lengthwise. But I would start at a 10-gallon and up for these guys. You can do it in a 5, but like I said, I want it to be as easy as possible for you. So I would start at a 10, preferably 20-gallon. Put a sponge filter in there, and you're good to go. And for the most part, I just want to say enjoy the fish. Enjoy it. That's why I said an easy way to do these things, because you really want to just enjoy the fish. You don't want to spend more time doing maintenance on your tank than actually looking at it and enjoying the tank. And that's all I'm trying to get you guys to understand. A little bit of moam in there. Test your water, see if you need to do things to raise your pH and hardness. If you have a soft water, more than likely you have low minerals. Toss some crushed coral in there on the substrate on the floor of your tank so it can release minerals, or toss some type of rock that'll release them in there. Limestone, Texas Holy Rock, Siri Rock, or however it is. I know I always butcher that name. And they'll eventually get that water nice and hard and mineralized for these guys. Temperature plays into it. The hotter you keep them, the quicker their lifespan will be, but the faster they will grow and the faster they will produce fry. The colder you keep them, the longer they will live, but the slower they will grow and the slower they will breed. Floating plants, in my opinion, works best overall, because in my experience, I've seen them birth and pop up to the top. And for filtration, the easiest route to go for me with guppies, at least, is a sponge filter. You don't have to worry about babies getting sucked in because your pre-filter sponge fell off or anything like that. You just literally grab the sponge maybe every 2-3 months, because literally that's when I do it, every 2-3 months. Wring it out real nice and chuck it back in there, and that's it for the next 2-3 months. I've known people keep them in there longer without cleaning them, but I usually go 2-3 months. They want you to do it a month, but I do it every 2-3. And yeah, just like I said before, enjoy the hobby. These little guys are very interesting, and you'll have a lot of fun with these things, especially if you do it this way. Not saying it's the only way. I have a line of guppies that I keep myself the pandas, and I keep that line pretty pure. But for the most part, I have more fun with this tank. I love seeing all the random colors and tail types that come out because I just toss a bunch of random ones in there. And remember to start with about 3 to 4 females to every male. I know they say a trio. You can do it with a trio. But just to make it easier on you, have more females. Way more females than males. Because these males do harass these females quite often. Yeah, just keep in mind, it's about making it easier on yourself. If you're a person with a lot of time, maybe you can go that extra mile and get that canister and get all the plants positioned in the bottom, and it's a nice lush garden of hair grass or something. But I'm just making this video to make it easier. And just as a quick footnote, if you're a complete beginner, males are usually are the ones with the big nice flowy tails like that, and the females are the ones that look like that. And if you need another pointer, look underneath them. The males will have a stick-like thing underneath, a gonopodium, and the females will just have a triangle fin underneath. Remember, you see, underneath, it'll have like a pointy stick underneath the males, and that's a gonopodium. And I know I'm murdering these words. And underneath the female will be a triangular-shaped fin. They breed by getting on the side of each other, and the male will obviously stick the gonopodium into the female and inseminate her. Every 28 to 30 days, depending on your temperature. It could be a lot more. And enjoy the hobby. I know I don't puke out videos as much as I used to, but I'm starting to have a little bit more time on my hands, so you guys might have a few more videos coming your way. I really like that male right there. I have another one that looks better than him, but he just really looks good to me. Yeah, just enjoy the hobby. Enjoy the hobby and make it easy on yourself. If you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe. If you have any ideas on future videos, future fish that I might have kept or I might still keep to this day, I don't have any problem doing a breakdown on intermediate species or beginner species. I like staying towards the beginner species because I want to help grow the hobby, as I said before, because in my opinion it's a dying hobby, and the easier it is for a beginner to get into the hobby, the better off it will be. Yeah, just toss your suggestions in, and if you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe, and I'll be in touch.